It's a true story. The guy actually climbed up the outside of a tower in Miami to protest the Cuban government. Huge story nationally. Like, like news trucks everywhere. The FBI got involved. It was a complete and utter circus. And he lived here. Rob and Pam built this place. And so, when you're living on a dirt road, off of a dirt road, and there's tons of news trucks, you better believe people still talk about it. When I first came here, said where I lived, people always brought up the story about Rob. Sheer insanity. So of course, after all that, he became, security aware. So he put up a camera. When I got here, I thought that the thing was hideous. I took the thing down. And the hysterical thing was, I had been staring at it thinking it was real, but it was a dummy. The thing was wholly plastic. I mean, the wire out of the back was plastic. It wasn't even real wire. We started to notice, though, that people were kind of coming around. There were, trucks and cars and stuff like that, come in the middle of the night, leave without talking to us kind of stuff. It was freaking us out a little bit. So I decided to replace that camera with a real camera, one that recorded 24/7, was, professional grade, all this cool stuff, and I pointed it right down the lane, try and catch the guy. So here's the challenge set. I live in an Octagon. I actually mulled this one over for about 4 months. And the way that I did that was that I created a PowerPoint. The PowerPoint represented the house. It had an octagon on it. And then I made little diagrams for what the field of view and the motion detection range was for every camera. Could I get away with one camera? Could I get away with 4? I couldn't help myself. That one camera eventually became 8 cameras on every corner of the deck. That, to me, was the best possible way of doing it. I could ensure that there was absolute tracking as I moved across. And of course, I tested a lot, wrapping myself around the house, walking it, trying to figure that stuff out. What I could see is basically about 10 feet out from my house, out to 150. It kept on going. There's no infinite. And it was a 4K camera, so that felt really good to me because it felt like if I zoomed in, I would still get some reasonable amount of detail. 360-degree visibility was just an excuse. What I really wanted to do was act on my OCD. And it's real OCD. I couldn't stop myself. I was always thinking about angle, height, camera overlap, all of that stuff. It was a setup to fail. One of the things that I didn't realize at the time was that taking one camera and scaling it to 8, all of which are recording 24/7 and Wi-Fi based, so sending all of that data through the internet, through my mesh network, was going to be an impact multiplier in terms of whether or not I could stream, how fast the internet was, and all of that stuff. The other thing is, I wanted to extend the amount of storage there was in the home base, so I added a hard drive. Smart idea. The problem was I didn't pay attention to what I was doing. In fact, I didn't know what I was doing. So I ended up adding a consumer grade, non-security grade hard drive into the home base. It definitely recorded, but every time I wanted to export those videos from the home base, it was painful. It just wasn't designed for security. It fit into the home base, but it wasn't right for my 8 cameras. Total data bandwidth fail. I told the story about this pickup truck that came at 5 a.m. I caught the guy who was driving in. Eventually I did. I talked to him. Turns out he was a repo guy. He was coming to see if Rob and Pam's car was still here. Apparently they had taken it to Mexico. I don't know. I'm not going to say. Allegedly they had taken it to Mexico. And so the repo guy was coming around. That's who it was. And that is when I changed what I was doing. I took 4 of them down. I didn't need 8. And I went back to the old adage, cover the doors and windows. I then turned the cameras so that they were facing the doors and windows. When someone hit that door, it would send me a push notification. So all of those 4 cameras that were up on the deck, now facing doors and windows, could pass off. So the cameras would see you going around the deck. Now if I need to, I can fall back to a safe location in the house where they can't see me, but I can see them. From here I can call the police, Or if I need to, I can escalate it. I'd like to think that I improved the house over the years. Drew and I put in 3 bathrooms where there was 1.5. We built the pool, we built the pond, tons of garden. And where Rob had 1 dummy cam, I scaled it to 8.